Serie A is buzzing on transfer deadline day, the greatest derby in English football. Bale saves Real A. We've got a transfer roundup and Emoji Monday all coming up in the next few minutes. As I'm your host, Matt Froelich, you are the Onefootballers, and this is the Daily News. So there has been so many transfer deals done and yet to be done on transfer deadline day, as Serie A is absolutely buzzing. So here are the deals that are happening or might happen in the next few hours. First off, Enric Mkhitaryan has completed a loan deal to Roma, meaning that him and Alexis Sanchez are both at different clubs than when they signed for Arsenal and Manchester United respectively just 18 months ago. It's been pretty downhill for there since both of them. Nikola Kalinic is also joining Roma, meaning that their striker Patrick Schick can go out on loan to RB Leipzig in a 2-year deal. Ante Rebic is heading to AC Milan, with Andre Silva swapping in the other direction. Alongside this, Giorgio Chiellini is now injured for about 9 months, meaning the Juventus are looking to enter the market and sign a centre-back on loan. Jerome Boateng, Skrodan Mustafi and Mehdi Benatia, the former Juventus player, are all linked with the club. Mauro Icardi is also looking to move clubs today, and it looks like after signing a new deal with Inter Milan, meaning that he'll be part of their future, he's moving on loan to Paris Saint-Germain. Of course, that will give them a wealth of options with Cavani, Mbappe and Neymar already there, with Neymar looking increasingly likely to stay. Add to this, Fernando Llorente, the free agent since leaving Spurs, has joined Napoli. Martin Skrtel has left Atalanta after just 3 weeks after a complete disagreement with the management team. Fiorentina are looking to sign Liverpool's 18-year-old forward Bobby Duncan for just $2 million. And all of this after a weekend which saw an insane win for Juventus. After going 3-0 up, Napoli managed to bring it back to 3-3, with debutant Irving Lozano becoming the first Mexican to score in Serie A. But right at the end, Kalidou Koulibaly put through his own net to completely undo everything that they did and give the victory to Juventus. Of course, it was last season where Koulibaly scored at that end in the last minute, giving them a 1-0 victory. But this time, things are completely turned around. And talking of the footballing action over the weekend, it was absolute scenes in the best derby in English football. I said it, you guys can have your thoughts down in the comment section down below. But is there a better derby, entertainment and footballing wise, than the North London derby? Arsenal took on Spurs at the Emirates Stadium and it finished 2-2 in what was a pulsating game. So much so, I felt like I'd actually played, even though I was just watching on the sofa. What it meant, though, was that Spurs fans would be a little bit disappointed, as will the team, after throwing away a 2-0 lead. And Arsenal, well, they'll also be pretty disappointed, the fact that they couldn't defeat that weak Spurs defence. First off, the two on the controversies. Harry Kane, was it a penalty? No, it wasn't a penalty. There was a slight hand on his back, but he was definitely looking for it. Well, that wasn't too dissimilar to Aubameyang's at Wembley last season, for which he did get a penalty. Despite that, though, if it was outside the box, it definitely would have been given. And if it was the other way around, inside the box, it definitely would have been a free kick for the defender. Alongside this, though, VAR ruling out Arsenal's third goal. It wasn't actually VAR at all. They were just confirming. The linesman saw the offside, gave it, and it definitely was offside from Kolasinac. And last but not least, it's not even controversial, but Granit Xhaka, what are you doing? Even as a footballing fan, you can't help but wince at some of the ridiculous stuff that he does. That penalty, oh my word, in the middle of the box, flying into Heung-min Son, it was an absolute stonewaller, and he really needs to be smarter than that, especially if he's to go on and be club captain. It was actually unbelievable that he didn't get booked until the 92nd minute with his 7th foul of the game. Martin Axon also had a pretty shocking game as referee. What it does mean, though, as I mentioned, is that Spurs and Arsenal will both be disappointed, but maybe will both take the point as well, especially as Spurs has some chances late on the counter-attack to steal all 3. After the game, Mauricio Pochettino did give a brief update about Christian Eriksen, who looks to be entering the last year of his contract without signing a new one, saying that it's pretty impossible for him to leave. Now, this despite speculation linking moves with him to PSG and Real Madrid, but as you'll see later in the transfer roundup, things aren't all done just yet. But moving on to some more football action from the weekend, and Gareth Bale saves the day for Real Madrid. I'm quite pleased at this because it's an amazing turnaround for a player who just a few months ago was told that it would be better for everyone if he left the club. That was from manager Zinedine Zidane, who now having to stick with Bale has reluctantly put him into the starting lineup, and he helped salvage a point for the Frenchman's side, even though he did then get sent off in the last minute. 2 yellow cards meant Bale left the game very briefly earlier than the rest of the players did, but he did grab 2 important goals, which meant that Real Madrid's start to the season is poor, but not as poor as it could have been had they lost. After 3 games, they've got a win and 2 draws, and currently sit a few points behind the league leaders. So, speaking of Real Madrid, and to a quick roundup of the transfer news, where apparently Currently, if it's not Christian Eriksen, they may make a last-ditch attempt to bring in Sporting's Bruno Fernandes for around £64 million. Tottenham's Victor Wanyama is heading back to Celtic, where he played up until 2013 on a season-long loan. A season-long loan is also the deal that's been concluded by PSG for Sevilla's goalkeeper Sergio Rico. And lastly but not least, I know a load of you are going to be mentioning it, but the deals for Neymar and Pogba and a few others may or may not happen throughout the rest of the day. At the time of filming, some hours early in the morning on Monday, they haven't happened just yet, but of course, keep up to date with all the latest transfers on the Onefootball app. So finally, because it's Mondays daily, we come to Emoji Mondays, or we assign a random emoji to a few players over the weekend. First off, our emoji for the best player, and for me, it goes to Timo Werner. He smashed in a hat-trick for Leipzig, meaning they enter the international break after 3 games with a 100% record, top of the table, and he has 5 goals in the opening 3. A brilliant weekend for him. Next up, and to the worst player, Davinson Sanchez. Oh my word, it's not entirely his fault that the centre-back was put out to right-back, but for the North London derby, he had an absolute nightmare of a game. Pochettino can't really be doing those experiments in the big game, and I don't think Sanchez will be playing at right-back anytime soon. For the victory of the weekend though, the +3 points, my victory has to go to Celtic. I know what you're going to think, Celtic winning, that's not really anything out of the ordinary. But they won at Rangers in the Old Firm derby. It's never an easy match. This is the first time in 6 games that the away side has managed to take all 3 points. And Steven Gerrard's men have suffered just their second defeat in 19 games. So by all means, it was never going to be an easy game, added to the fact that it was a ridiculously difficult derby. So a 2-0 victory for Celtic is pretty impressive. So of course, that's all from me today, but let me know your thoughts on the transfer news, on your Emoji Mondays and everything else in the comment section down below. Whilst you're down there, you can smash the like button and click here or here to check out all of the other videos we've got going on Onefootball. But until next time, I will see you guys later.